Hello, and welcome to Menopause Sucks, but it doesn't have to. I'm your host, Juliana Garcia, and I'm a seasoned nutrition, fitness coach, and a pro bodybuilder of 15 years. Now, I'm here today because I want to introduce a new show, a new idea, as I went through my own perimenopausal journey. And for those who aren't sure what perimenopause is, many women are going to go through this. They're going to go through tons of milestones. And one of the things that we're going to go through is called perimenopause. Now, this is the time around menopause. Now, if you're here in this podcast, you've been searching, you've been researching symptoms, things that you're going through, symptoms that are happening around menopause, and you are in the world of perimenopause if you are just now discovering these symptoms. And during my journey, I found that there wasn't a lot of resources out there. There weren't a lot of women talking about it out there. Now I'm starting to see more things pop up, especially on my Instagram algorithm. I'm starting to see perimenopause, menopause, supplements, solutions, things like that. And what I decided to do with my 20 years experience as a fitness coach, as a nutritionist, as a pro bodybuilder, is start accumulating all the things that I already know to help women transition into this journey, because it can be really difficult if you're unsure of how to handle it or what to do. So each of our milestones are marked by unique changes and challenges, and this one journey remains to be shrouded in mystery, which is perimenopause. And this transition period occurs like I said, right before menopause, and it typically happens in our late 30s and happens as early, in our mid to late 30s as well. So what we want to do is understand that this is going to affect all women, all of us. None of us are going to get away from it. Not that we have to get away from it. Now, let me put in that there is a small percentage who get to just kind of stroll on by and not have a major effect of these symptoms, which is awesome, right? Kind of like when I went through my reproductive years and I didn't feel a lot of PMS symptoms. Don't hate. I really didn't have bad PMS, cramping. I mean, I had heavy bleeding. Well, guys, this is a full-on show. We are going to be talking about women's menses and cycles and sex and libido and all those fun things. So stay tuned. This is definitely for my gentlemen as well, so you can understand what your women are going through. So, and perimenopause can sometimes be dubbed as the menopause prelude, and it's characterized by a gradual decline in hormone production. I repeat, it's an adventure into the world of hormone fluctuation. Our hormones are depleting, okay? And what tends to happen is we start to have irregular periods. And that normally earmarks the beginning of perimenopause. If you had a period where you were just kind of having on schedule, and not every woman is on time every month, but around that time, you had a pretty consistent menses or period, and now it's becoming erratic, irregular. Maybe it's changing color. Maybe it shows up for a couple of days, 2 weeks after you had it, and then maybe it goes away. There's different variations of this, but this is definitely a sure sign that you are beginning to enter into perimenopause. Now, let's just dive into my story real quick, okay? Because right after my 47th birthday, I embarked on a very unexpected adventure into this whole world of perimenopause. And it was as if my body decided to throw me a curveball just when everything seemed to be sailing smoothly. So the irregular period started. They made their debut a few months prior, and my once peaceful slumber was now disrupted by 3 a.m. rendezvous with a racing mind. But it was not until my mood really started to change, my irritability, my depression that I normally did not feel. These are all things that started to come up that I wasn't fully aware of, or that I didn't really experience in my 20s and 30s and most of my 40s. But the one thing that really got me to think, whoa, something's really going on, was the anxiety. And it wasn't just like I'm anxious about going to work or I'm anxious about my day. It was like gripping anxiety. There's a doom over me. Something terrible is about to happen. Ladies, have you experienced this? If you have, I want you to put it into the comments. I want you to start sharing your symptoms with me. This is going to be a place where we can share these things and understand that we are going through this together. Now, another thing that got me thinking and knowing that, okay, something's going on, was I didn't want to go to the gym anymore. Okay, I'm an avid gym goer. I love the gym. I love taking care of my body. I love getting strong. I love eating clean. I do all of the things that are going to allow me to live optimally. And that went away. So I knew something was up. Something was wrong. I mean, not only was I irritable, moody, depressed, now I didn't want to go to the gym. Okay, something's off. So I went into a deep dive into figuring out what these symptoms really meant. Okay, because my relationship thrived, work was pouring in, and I was a regular at the gym until I just decided I didn't want to do it anymore. And it's such a weird feeling to have, especially when you are self-motivated most of your life. So when that motivation started lacking and then the fatigue started setting in and I just didn't want to do anything, I would have been happy just cuddled up under the bed with my dog and reading a book. I'm sure a lot of you can relate out there. Share it in the messages into the comments, please. Now, understanding that it's not just about a regular period, there's going to be other symptoms that occur. And there's going to be some that many women experience, and there's going to be some that a lot of women don't experience. For me, it wasn't the weight gain. Weight gain is one of them for many women, but there were other things going on. There's changes in not only the way I felt, but also in my appetite. I actually wasn't as hungry as I used to be. My metabolism seemed to have started slowing down. So that was another sign. Although the weight gain wasn't coming on, I still stuck to my healthy protocol of eating. I still continue to eat my 4 to 5 small meals throughout the day. This is something that has always worked for me. I've always created my macro bowls, and I'll be sharing tons of recipes during this podcast. I'll be sharing things with you. You can also follow me on Instagram, juliana.nutrition.coach, where I'll be sharing tons of tips and ways to be healthy throughout this time in our life. Okay. The mood swings and the emotional changes that occur were the biggest indicator that I was actually going through something. And then another thing that followed was my change in libido. I had a thriving, strong libido, and then it just started slowly kind of dissipating. And I wasn't really sure why, and it wasn't working for me. So another reason for me to take this deep dive and see what was really going on. What I finally saw was that I was going through perimenopause. And of course, reading this and thinking it and understanding it, I was in denial. I'm going to admit I was in denial. I didn't want to admit what I was going through. And why didn't anybody tell me about this? Okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. Over my 20 years of training thousands of women, I did hear the complaints of these symptoms, but I never connected the two that they were going to lead into menopause. The symptoms are the signs that we are on our way in there. Okay, so we don't want to ignore this. So if you journal, if you track your period, if you do any of those things just to keep track of what's going on in your life, which I highly recommend that you do. If you're not tracking your periods, start now. There are tons of apps out there that you can start using. But the biggest thing that I recommend is just being aware of the changes going on in your body. Because once they start, this is the sign that your hormones are starting to fluctuate. Okay? When we go through puberty, that's when our hormones flood in. We start having a menses or a period, and then we have a regular period every month. And that is because our body prepares itself every month to have a baby. And when you don't have a baby, you shed the blood and you bleed every month. So with that being said, your body only has a certain amount of eggs that it's going to go through. You're born with a certain amount of eggs. And then as you age, your eggs also age. And when you get to a particular age, usually around your mid 30s, early 40s, that's when your hormones start to fluctuate and they start to be made less and less. And what that means is, okay, so hormones are like the software in your body. Okay, they're the boss that is going to go out and tell each of the departments in your body on what it needs to do. If the boss doesn't show up for work, guess what? Your body's not going to function properly. So when your sex hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, all sex hormones that we were going to be covering during this podcast, when they start to fluctuate or not producing at optimal levels the way they used to, then your body starts to experience these severe symptoms. And there's hundreds of symptoms out there. Okay, not just a few. I'm talking shortness of breath, shoulder pain, lack of patience, lack of self-esteem, memory loss, depression, brain fog, anxiety, night sweats. I said that one. Sleep problems. There's going to be an accumulation of different things. It even goes down to your digestive health, abdominal pain. Okay. Acid reflux could be part of it. Constant burping, gas. I mean, all these little symptoms add up and they all contribute to a fluctuation in your hormones. So what is the first step? What's the first step that I can give to you today so that you can see where you're at in this journey? Go find your health practitioner, your health provider, your OB-GYN. I'm going to definitely recommend going to your doctor, but be prepared. Go in with a list of symptoms, let them know what you're feeling, and ask directly if you are a candidate for hormone replacement therapy, because this is going to treat the root cause of all of these symptoms. Once we understand what the root cause is, then we can treat that. And the way we treat that is with bioidentical hormones. Now, that is a very big topic out there. A lot of doctors are anti-hormone replacement therapy because of some studies that came out, like the Women's Health Initiative back in 2002. However, there are tons and tons of research articles out there, and one book in particular called Estrogen Matters. It's a great book that actually goes through and lists all of the benefits of hormone replacement therapy and why women should be on some type of hormone replacement therapy to optimize their health and life. Okay, so perimenopause, it's that time around that happens before menopause, anywhere from 3 to 10 years. If you're feeling any of the symptoms that I talked about today, if you think that maybe you are entering into that world, it's okay. Trust me, it's going to be okay, because once we can start finding solutions a lot, and it's not just about HRT, we need to optimize our health and make sure we are taking care of our bodies, our mindset, and also just the people around us are going to be affected by the way we feel. So think about that as well. It's going to affect your relationships. One thing that I remember while I was going through this, I was freaking out. And why wouldn't I freak out? I wasn't feeling the same. And I didn't want that to roll into my relationship. So I wouldn't talk about it. I wouldn't say anything. I would just hold it in. That's not what you want to do. We need to have a community where we can go and talk about this, but also feel comfortable and confident talking to your partner as well. If you're in a loving relationship or in a relationship in general, this is going to affect your partner, because when you're with that person every day, they're going to feel your energy. They're going to feel your anxiety. I know that my boyfriend was feeling my anxiety. And, so it's important to also be open. So I'll be covering that in this podcast as well. So invite your loved one to learn more about what this transition is, and so that we can make this transition smooth to everybody. This is my first episode of this podcast. So please like and share with somebody you know would benefit from this, and stay tuned, because I've got some great episodes coming up. I'm Juliana Garcia, and I'm going to see you in the next video.